As a follow-up to my video on criminal sentencing, I wanted to talk about a case that happened just south of here in Will County. And this is a case where a woman shot her husband. Now, the headline to my video is a little bit deceptive. And I did it that way on purpose because I want to demonstrate how easy it is to manipulate people and to share selective facts in an effort to get people stirred up and outraged. In this particular case, this woman, a Plainfield woman, back in 2020, she pulled out a revolver and shot her husband while he was watching football. She hit him once in the leg and once in the chest, nearly killing him. He did, however, make a miraculous recovery. She was subsequently charged with attempted murder, with aggravated battery with a firearm, with aggravated domestic battery, and with the unlawful discharge of a firearm. During the pendency of the case, she spent most of her time in home confinement with an electronic monitoring device. This is because her attorney managed to have her bail reduced. She was incarcerated in the county jail for about 2.5 months, and then her attorney made the argument that she was trying to be proactive about her mental health, and that was part of the reason that her bond was reduced and she was able to be on home confinement. The judge also mentioned that this was a big part of why she was ultimately sentenced the way she was, because there was this perception that she was taking her mental health issues seriously. What ultimately happened was she entered into a plea arrangement. 3 of the more serious charges were dismissed. She pled to a lesser charge. The judge sentenced her to 6 years in the state prison. However, she got credit for the 5+ years that she was on home confinement and the 2.5 months that she was incarcerated in the county jail. So according to her attorney, as he stated to the journalists of the Joliet Patch, she's probably only going to spend a few days in state prison. People looking at this case are probably going to think this outcome is not fair. After all, this woman nearly killed her husband, and yet she's only going to spend a few days in jail. The consequences don't seem to match up with the seriousness of the crime. And I would actually agree, this is too light of a sentence. However, there are some rational reasons why the sentence was as it was. And this is the type of thing people normally don't dig into. For one thing, of course, you had a plea arrangement. Anytime you have a plea arrangement and you don't make the state put on its case, that's usually going to have some benefit in terms of the sentencing. Mental health concerns are always going to have an impact as well. This was not someone who was adjudicated incompetent to stand trial. And I don't, if it had gone to trial, I don't know if they would have tried to do the whole not guilty by reason of insanity approach. I have no idea. But the bottom line is the woman had mental health issues. She was proactive about it, and the judge took notice of that. So that had an impact as well. Another factor in this case is the victim. The husband was surprisingly very supportive. He essentially begged the court to not put this woman in prison. So when you have a victim who's taking a supportive position insofar as the defendant is concerned, that's going to have some impact as well. The reason why I go through this whole thing again is I just want to show how complicated sentencing is and how easy it is again to manipulate people. If I wanted to do what feminists do and what Me Too advocates do, I could take a look at this case. I could say, this is so unfair. A woman shoots her husband and basically suffers no consequences. And you see this all the time with sentences that concern men and sexual abuse. I'm thinking now of the Brock Turner case. I did a video on that. I'm thinking of the Epstein case. That's been in the news a lot lately. And people just get that case just completely wrong. There's this perception that he got this sweetheart deal during the first prosecution down in Florida. That is so incorrect. If you dig into the facts of that case, the idea that it was a sweetheart deal is absolutely ridiculous. But this is the kind of thing that the Me Too advocates do. And this is why I do these videos, why I wrote the book. I'm trying to educate people on these issues. You got to understand the underlying factors in these cases before you make some kind of goofy political statement about how our system doesn't treat victims of abuse properly or how it favors men. It's just not correct. And I do think if the roles had been reversed, if a man had done this to a woman and had gotten similar treatment, I think you'd see all kinds of outrage about it.